I'm going to skip over citizens' comments for 1 minute because while we have everybody here again, we have one other thing we'd like to do. We have, is Peter Metz here for an election update?
He's back right.
Peter, could you come down?
Good evening, I'm Selectman Al Goldberg. As Peter makes his way down here for his comments, I wanted to take a moment Peter, why don't you wait right here. With us tonight is a very special Madison individual, Don Rankin. A few years ago, the Board of Selectmen created a Community Service Award in the name of Don Rankin, and Don was the first recipient. And so, Don, since you're with us tonight, I'd like to invite you down in front here for a moment, if you would. So we're going to interrupt our regular agenda tonight, and I am going to read a proclamation on behalf of my colleagues from the Board of Selectmen. Whereas Peter Metz has tremendous impact on the town of Madison, including 5 terms as our registrar of voters.
Set up.
Whereas Peter Metz has also served on the Ad Hoc Ethics Program Group and was elected to the Board of Finance for a period of 10 years. Whereas Peter Metz has served as state representative from the town of Madison in Guilford from 1992 until 2004, and during which time Mr. Metz spearheaded initiatives to protect the environment. Whereas Peter Metz has displayed the character and ethics we expect of those who enter public service, and the selfless devotion to the well-being of our town we expect of our neighbors, and the good nature and positive outlook we expect of our friends. Now, therefore, we, the members of the board, hereby unanimously acknowledge the effort of Peter Metz and present him with the Don Rankin Community Service Award.
You may be able to tell by my face that this is a total surprise. I had no idea that's why I was coming down here. I thought I was going to be asked some very difficult questions about the upcoming election. But I thank you very much. It's really a great honor to be thought of that way by the selectmen and by the town. And the only other comment I have is if you made this announcement half an hour ago, there would have been more people here. Thank you.
Congratulations, Peter. I'm so happy for you. This is a citation from the state of Connecticut. It was introduced by myself and Senator Kennedy. Sorry for the voice. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Peter A. Metz in recognition of your 12 years of service to the people of the 101st District as State Representative, 1992-2004. Your dedicated service on numerous, too many to count, Madison boards and commissions is greatly appreciated. Your leadership and mentoring of Madison citizens is exemplary. Thank you for your service as Registrar of Voters for Madison. Best wishes on your future retirement, and the entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. And it's signed by the President of the Senate, Speaker of the House, and Secretary of the State. Congratulations, Peter.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have some results, Ron.
Good job, Ron.
Okay, again, congratulations, Peter. Certainly well deserved. The third question on tonight's meeting was again regarding appropriation, and the tally is 60 votes in favor, 9 opposed. So that too carries. Right. Thank everybody first for coming out and giving us their time and their ballots. Thank you. And then I would entertain a motion for Mr. Horvath to that effect. Do I have a second? Second? John Walker, all in favor? I hereby adjourn the town meeting. Thanks again, everyone. Drive safely.
Are we done? What's next? Well, let's start on.
Move back to item number 4 on the agenda, which is citizens' comments.
I'm working on it.
Back here, just one moment. Ron's going to finish.
I'm Dick Passero, 287 Legend Hill, and my colleague here is Catherine Ferranti, Cox Road. Actually, I have a very simple request, but I'd like to take a couple of minutes to let you know how I got to this simple request. We have a group that is proposing that we convert the Academy Street School into a community center. And we've been working on this for some time, doing research on the community centers along the shoreline, and also working, attending every meeting of the advisory committee. So we've had input into the advisory committee, and we've been keeping up with them. What we have done is to really 3 things. We have written a detailed report, which I have just given you. The second thing that we have done is to do a PowerPoint presentation. Catherine has sent a PowerPoint presentation to the committee. And the third aspect of what we have done is to build a 3-dimensional physical model of the Academy Street School. The purpose of the model is transparent floors, and the purpose of it is to allow people who haven't been inside the Academy Street School to get a feeling for the number of rooms, the different kinds of rooms, the spatial relationship of those rooms, and what is involved in 53,000 square feet of space. Now, as far as the proposal, I think it's been said many times that we need a community center in Madison. Why do we need it? We need it because of a number of things. First of all, the space. There is insufficient space for meetings, for conferences. What we have done here is to solicit individuals who would use space that is in the building now. So if we take the number of people, the floor plans show the use of each of the floors and each of the rooms. And if we take all of the people who have already expressed an interest in it, offices and the theaters, the 2 theaters and the gym, it would take up the entire building. There has been some question as to whether or not the 52,000 square feet could be used. But this shows that there are enough people interested in it, and it ranges all the way from a teen center to adult education to museum, art space, music space, a history museum. It takes up the entire building, so there is adequate interest in using the building for that purpose. Now, as I said, my request is pretty simple. With this background, we would like to have permission to put this display in the lobby at the down campus, the way others have been, for example, models of the library. So that's a long way, I guess, getting around to asking you for permission to put the model and the panel board there.
So, well, specifically, the model on the panel board here that shows the floors and proposed uses for each of the proposed use. A copy of the proposal that you have. A little trifold brochure that we're working on right now. And if we can manage to set it up technologically, a slideshow presentation like on one of those, you know, like rotating frames, picture frames with the images. I don't know how to do it, but that's the plan. But for now, definitely these two things and the proposal. So if you'd allow us to set that up, we would appreciate it.
And we'll leave this here for you. We'll be here to address the meeting. Maybe after the meeting, you can come up and take a look at the model. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other citizen comments? Yeah. Yes?
One thing I see looking at these plans, as a contractor myself, I don't see an elevator in the building at all, which I think is required by the state, is it not?
That's part of the planned updates to the building.
Okay, so it's not on the plans here.
So
It's
here's
not on the plans they hand.
This is a model.
This
of the
isn't a
building as
proposal
is.
right now.
Sorry, as is. That's just an example of what the building is for those who
Yeah,
haven't been in
you
it.
can feel free to talk to them afterwards, but at our meeting, we don't have give and take citizens' comments, okay? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to number 6, discuss zoning regulations pertaining to political signage in town. Scott, I think you want to talk about this?
Yes. And I'm not sure exactly, I guess the zoning officer is he here? So I guess we're going to have the zoning officer come. Just an observation, and this is by no means related to one party or another, but clearly the amount of signage, political signage in our town has become, in my opinion, excessive. And I'm seeing political signage now on public roads, on state roads, on land that is clearly not private property. And you know, my hope would be that you know, we as the Board of Selectmen might consider you know, having the Planning and Zoning Commission look into and maybe reinforcing some of the zoning requirements that we have in place currently, and maybe consider others as well, such that we're all playing by a consistent playbook.
So just to expand on Scott's thoughts, I went back and looked at the zoning regulations, and first off, they're difficult to find. Just as an editorial on the side, they're not written as clearly as I would have hoped, and I think one thing that we might consider is requesting planning and zoning go back and take a look at the regulations and see if we might be able to put it in a little bit more plain English.
Or at least in one place.
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less in the same regulation, but it's kind of spread out a little bit. And what I would observe from reading the regulations is that almost every single sign, every single temporary sign that has been erected in town is in violation of one section of that code or another, whether it's the duration, the size, the placement relative to each other. So I would ask that planning and zoning take a look at that, see if they can't simplify it a little bit, and as it relates to some of the temporary signs, maybe we look to harmonize our regulations with what other towns in our same political grouping have. So that would most likely be the 12th Senate District, because House seats and the Senate seats, and of course, all of the...
So Ron Clark is here, he's the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Ron, would you like to say anything?
Well, thank you for that, that observation. I too have seen a lot of signs in the right places and the wrong places, and to the best of my knowledge, there's been one complaint about them, believe it or not. But the problem I think we have is not what's in the regulations, because as Bruce pointed out, a lot of violations already, but enforcement. You know, the town does not have, it's such a cumbersome process. You know, providing it in writing, and I mean, all of the red tape, if you will, and it's to protect the public overall from government taking advantage, but it's problematic. I would suggest that maybe after the election, perhaps the town committees could talk with one another and have a discussion if the feeling is that strong amongst the population in Madison, that maybe some type of ground rules would be worked out where they agree to limit, reduce the amount of signage for next year's election. Somehow, I don't know how they do that easily either, but that's another avenue that might be explored. But we can certainly look to improve and streamline our regulations. But the problem is, come next November, you know, fairly and equally enforcing. It's like trying to catch every speeder, okay? You catch some, but you don't catch all of them. And, you know, with the signs, it's that's part of the challenge. Some people take them down, others will just wait for nature to take its course. While we take our course, the election's over.
Can I just add to that? I think the reason why I was bringing it up too is also just it's a consistency thing, so that we're all playing by the same set of rules. And I think, you know, right now, my observation is it's a bit of a free-for-all with signage. You know, and you know, whether it's Bruce's point of size of the signs, whether it's, you know, too many signs next to each other. I just think there's an opportunity to tighten our belts a little bit on the regulations. And maybe it's, you know, leveraging, as Bruce suggested, best practices from other towns such that we're, you know, starting to learn from each other. I think there's opportunity there.
I agree. The enforcement is the challenge. You just can't go and take it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I hear exactly what you're saying. And I agree with you, man.
But I think to be clear, it's not just political signs.
Totally agree.
It's almost
all signs.
Every single sign out there. Whether it's advocating for a particular position or advertising for a bicycle ride for the cure for cancer. Almost every single group that's putting a sign out is doing something in violation of the ordinance, and either we modify the ordinance to make those signs not be in violation, or we come up with some sort of communication that explains to people what they are and are not allowed to do. Because I agree, we're not going to set up a special police force just to manage the signs.
And some, actually, I know, go through, like I did with Little League, a process, you know, whereby they, you know, apply for approval to put the signs out, and I think others do not. So I think it's back to consistency.
I hear that loud and clear. And there is a process, and some do. It's the ones who don't follow it.
You're right.
And I know myself, some folks who put out signs on Friday afternoons and take them down on Sunday evenings for mattress sales or whatever it might be, because the zoning enforcement officer is not working. So how do you enforce when there's nobody around to do the work? So those are things we can take a look at, certainly, but we try. Election time is a good time to bring it up.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. I neglected to mention that the Boy Scouts are here to earn a government badge or civic badge. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming. Pick the bad beanie. Going to be a long one. Number 7, discuss and take action to approve accepting a Connecticut State Targeted Response to the Opioid Crisis Community Mini Grant in the amount of $5,000 and to authorize the first selectman to sign the same.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, discuss and take action to approve awarding the bid for the Strong Center sidewalk project.
So moved.
Second.
John, you want to say anything?
We received 8 bids, and we checked the references on the low bidder, and they got very good, excellent references actually for municipal sidewalk type work, so
Good.
we recommend.
Okay, and we think if we approve this tonight, they can start next week, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, discuss and take action to award a contract for a new 6-wheel dump truck to Freightliner of Hartford for $186,525, purchased off state contract 14PSX0239 as part of the capital improvement program, Highway Department vehicle replacement schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, discuss and take action to approve a bid waiver for the customization of a new 10-code truck body replacement for 2004 Sterling 6-wheel dump truck.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, John, he's asking for a bid waiver because the next item on the agenda is to actually contract for this. So is everybody comfortable with the bid waiver? Okay, so normally we would have to go out for 3 bids, okay? John, I don't know where you priced this from, but he's satisfied that this is a good enough deal for us to not have to go out for 3 bids. Do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a little more information. It's to replace this truck body, it's $42,000. $20,000 of that is the body itself, it's a 10-co body, which matches what we have, and that is off the state bid. The other $22,000 is our accessories, a top, which we need for to be state legal, LED, light and strobe light package, things like that.
And all the labor to do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've used this company before. So given that, I'm pretty comfortable with proceeding with this.
Okay. Al?
John, you're asking for the waiver because this is a state contract?
The waiver is for the accessory part of it, so the...
part is on the bid, part is...
The brunt of this is the body itself, which is off the state contract. The waiver is for the labor and the various accessories.
My understanding, we were just talking, so this is all budgeted anyways, right?
Yeah.
So this is not something that's out of...
There's no special appropriations.
Right.
This
This
is
is literally in your budget.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, following that, discuss and take action to award the contract for a 10-code truck body and customization to Equipment Services for $42,242 as part of the capital improvement program Highway Department vehicle replacement schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, discuss and take action to approve an amendment to the lease purchase agreement between the town and government capital for 2 town vehicles for the Highway Department as approved in the capital improvement program.
Second.
So, Stacy, you want to...
I think we're going to table it right now. We're
We're going
going to table it.
to table it?
Yes.
Okay.
So next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll table that. Number 13, discuss and take action to approve an application for a diesel emissions mitigation program grant application to Connecticut Deep for a replacement of 6 Class 8 dump trucks. If awarded, the grant would fund 60% or $632,808 of the fleet replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So we haven't had a conversation about this yet. Is there some explanation that we could?
The explanation is that we actually have applied for the grant and neglected to bring it to the board for approval to apply. So that's what we're seeking right now. We actually should be hearing about the results of this in the next week or so. So what it would do is it would take up to 6 trucks that we have that are not in very good condition off the road and replace them with 6 brand new ones. At a cost of 40%.
I think Billy likes this.
Oh, sorry.
40% of the cost.
So Stacy, what does this do to the CIP funding or the CIP spending?
At this point, we did not modify have there's 5 remaining, so once the grant is approved, we will modify the schedule. But right now, it's status quo, assuming we're getting no grant.
And these were vehicles that had independent reserve funds? This was not in the CNRE?
This is all part of the highway equipment fund.
Right, okay.
Independent fund, correct.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 14, discuss and take action to approve Sarah Snyder to the Youth and Family Services Board for a term to expire January 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Discuss strategic plan process and take action to call community workshops on November 15th and November 27th at 6:30 p.m. in the Polson School Auditorium.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so let's discuss the process. I guess these community action workshop, or community workshops will be the ones that we talked about in the initial meeting where the consultant will actually run the meetings for us.
Do you want me to?
Sure, yeah. Lauren's taken over as project manager, so.
So these are the community workshops that we did discuss in that kickoff meeting with the consultants. They will be out here to conduct them. They will be here so that they allow for as many people as possible to attend. And what the consultants will do afterwards is they will take all the information that they get from these 2 community workshops and incorporate those suggestions into their overall plan that they'll bring back to the town stakeholders in December for your workshops.
Okay, so we do want to get a good turnout of people for these workshops.
How are we going to promote those? Are they going to be?
Well, I don't see Zoe here anymore, but we'll get it in the paper, number 1.
So this
It'll be on our website.
Yeah, the legal notice that you guys are approving right now will be in the paper. It'll be on the website. It'll be on the First Selectmen's Facebook page. We'll send out another reminder to the listserv as well, like a week or so in advance that people are reminded. Because the meetings are right before and right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that some people, this is not going to really be fresh on their minds when they're worrying about holiday planning, but we will make every effort to publicize it every way that we normally do.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion and second, yeah.
We do.
Okay, take action to call community workshops. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, discuss Board of Education capital improvement plan request for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Yeah, so I'm the one who asked for this addition to the agenda, and I'm glad to see we've got Katie and Tom here to help. We received the CIP request rather late in the process, and we pushed it on forward to the committee, and I think that was the right thing to do. But I've got a couple of questions that hopefully you can help me process, and that's really what I'm trying to do is process this information. The biggest thing on the capital request for this year is work up at Brown School, an outdoor learning center, a playground, whatever the label is on it. This is something the Board of Ed has been considering now for a couple of years. I think it goes back at least until 2016 or so in the discussion phase. And the board took action to recommend to the town a budget of about $636,000 last December. Does that sound right? Okay. And then...
I'm sorry, say that again? I'm still lost on we were late. We handed in the 10-year plan June 30th.
So the June 30th...
Your very first comment was that you didn't get it in on time. We handed in our CIP plan before June 30th.
But the CIP plan that we heard 10 days or so ago is not that plan.
So there was a modification to make it one project? Is that what you're pointing to? Or that was when, well, for the first year or the 10 years?
Well, I'm talking about this coming fiscal year.
Just 1920?
Yes. Okay. Right.
Oh, when we made it smaller?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And so that request was...
I didn't hear your question. Your question was what?
Well, so my question is going to be, how did we get from $636,000 to $844,000, which is the request this year? And I think the step in the way or in that in between, is that request was brought to the town, and the town, through the CIP process, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, reduced that number to 189. And last year, well, in January, right? It was.
Well, yeah, it was brought to the board in December, yeah.
Right. And then when we saw the first draft of your 10-year plan, which was in mid-June, that original amount, that 636 was the number that was in there. And then there was a further adopted plan later in the year, in October, I think, is when we had the second meeting, and you gave us another version. And that's when it went up. And so I'm trying to understand how we got from the 636 to the 844. What's changed between January, December of last year and now?
You have that down? Yes. So, yeah, I'll give the history. Do you have that, or I'll cover the first part?
The request went from
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, that was with the outdoor learning area. That part. Okay, so before we go there, so last year, the original plan, and I don't have the numbers to memory, so I'm going to go by the ones you gave. I had brought that entire proposal to the full board last December for consideration for CIP for last year, because that would need to be put in at that point in time to have a playground ready for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds in September when they come. The board at that time got very clear signals from the other two boards, not publicly, offline, and was to not approve that number. That number was too big. So it began with the 189 you pointed to, which is to do the clearing of the land. And then a playground committee was formed at that point, which Bill was an active part of, and the whole committee being given to that, outside landscape architect, consultant, and staff members. They put together a recommendation that came forth in June. And then that number went forward. Now that means that we won't have a full playground ensemble that we want for September when we do go to a 4-5 school, intermediate school. But Bill, you have the information as far as the difference between June and October?
Yes.
You can go ahead.
So we originally it was 447. It was in the 10-year plan when the board approved it in June of 2018. And then I met with the school. They formed a committee. The architect, the landscape architect, put together a plan, and we increased the scope from a play area to the outdoor learning center. We passed. We talked about an amphitheater. We talked about an outdoor classroom. So we expand.
And when we say amphitheater, think Bauer Park.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. That I think a lot of why the scope changed through this committee, this multidisciplinary committee of special education teachers, regular education teachers, a landscape architect, social workers, etc., came together to understand what kids in that age group might need, as well as providing parity for what the kids down in the southern campus will receive educationally. They already go to Bauer Park, have an outdoor classroom there, and a playground at that elementary school. So
Isn't this also for ADA compliance as well?
a huge part of that.
And I think the scope expansion was prioritized through the committee, the school teachers, the PE teachers, and what they prioritized, plus they did a survey with the kids. So that's really the additional scope added to the project.
So it was that amphitheater outdoor space that is driving the increase?
So the whole area increased. And, yes?
If you look at the footprint, you'll see the original poured in place with the structure. That was all part of it all along. The scope of it is a little wider now. You'll see an area more that leads into the natural area, outdoor learning center over there. The Gaga pits and all that is all part of the original. There's some additional pathways that go out that other section as well. And then there are all the sidewalks that are ADA compliant down in the original part.
I do have a little map here. I didn't make copies. If I knew that was the question, I would have brought a bunch of stuff to show the expansion. So I do have a little thing where it shows, where the active learning, the active play area was, and then the additional, learning center, which included the Gaga pits, swings were added, increased the area, and then the amphitheater in the classrooms, and a picnic area for, hanging out, because I think that was the big conversation from the educators, that the kids wanted more than just a place to climb on. They wanted a place to, I forgot what the term they used, but outdoor play without specific structures.
I think the bottom line is, and I said this to the Board of Selectmen, and for those who were there last time, I'll say it again, we're on camera. We're rebranding the school. This school was built in 1970, opened in 1970, for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They're going to be 8-year-olds there in September. And we passed last year, the Board of Ed passed last year, because they got strong signals to not go forward at this point in time. And here we are. We have 8-year-olds coming there. And we need to do something to accommodate for an intermediate school program. We're closing the school, which is completely in line with the promise we made to the community. We said that with declining enrollment, got to the middle school, we would close the school. We swung and missed on a long-term facility plan, and we're left with a default to close the school. This process of internal transition, curriculum, instruction, programming will be seamless. It is fully underway. The interior of the building, we don't need one penny to accommodate 8, 9, 10-year-olds in that building. But the outside, the exterior of this campus is not prepared for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds without some exterior renovations. And that's what this is about.
So I have the ranking. I have the stuff that Julie Phelps, presented to the board in the public meeting they had about this. I'm happy to share that with you if you haven't seen the ranking, the different structures, and let's see.
I think probably that's information that's going to be of more value in the CIP meeting. I think, we've decided to pass this along for further discussion of the CIP. My point and my reason for having this discussion now is that we weren't able to ask all of these questions when we received this request in our normal workshop. I just wanted the opportunity to follow through.
Yeah. Well, all of this is online. Everything is online, the CIP tab. Everything Bill has right here, the plans, everything is all there. If you want to look at it.
Good.
Thank you. Number 17, discuss Board of Education 10-year capital plan.
So this one's me again. Tom, I think to some of the questions that you were starting to address when we started the prior item. So we received, I believe the first plan we received was in mid-June. And it was titled BOE Approved Capital Improvement Plan, right? And that was a tri-board meeting shortly after you folks did this. And then again, we received on October 9th another document titled BOE Approved 10-Year Capital Improvement Plan. And what I'm trying to understand is this the plan that you want to execute on? And this is in the context of this tri-board working group that's been formed to evaluate other potential scenarios. And I'm trying to understand, is this the plan the Board of Ed wants and needs the town to consider, or are you asking for our help to come up with a variation of this plan?
So I think the mission is pretty clear, and Tom was in on the meeting, so I'm sure if he didn't share it with you, then I can share it now. That was the board adopted plan. You were part of that. There were modifications that were made because Tom, Katie, and Jean all agreed to put 2 members of each board on an ad hoc committee to see that plan that you got in June and July is option 1. That's it. Yeah, that is our plan. However, you were at the meeting. There were very strong voices in the room where people said, is there anything else we can do? Elected officials saying that. So the answer to that was, well, we can all delve into that and see. So the agreement was that we have 2 select, I know that Jean and Al, correct? And then I believe Board of Ed is Kurt, correct? And Galen, yep. And then Bennett and Jude. So those are the 6, and they're charged with coming up with, is there a option 2, option 3, option 4? So the board took a step back and may change it to the 1920 capital improvement proposal to kind of push everything that we felt we could back a year to give space to look at additional options. If there are no additional options, yeah, those are the projects that we need, those are our plans.
Bruce, I think you look at that, as a baseline. That is the plan that's been presented to you all, and at this point in time. But we are looking at other options in terms of cost and maybe structure makeup of the plan. And our charge is by April 1st to come up with 3 or 4 viable options. Viability being based on fiscal responsibility, as well as meeting the needs that have been described with respect to some of the existing structures, a couple of which are clearly in need of some serious renovation or repair. So what you've got is the baseline. Our mission is to see if we can come up with something that is better or more attractive to the Madison community. And so we are inviting proposals from the community. It's part of our responsibilities to come up with a set of criteria to help evaluate those, and then working with Bill and a representative of Colliers to come up with the cost assessment of the various options.
So they're one whole meeting in, and at this point in the game, I would have to put draft in front of everything, but there's 4 concepts that we talked about to help drive it. Is number 1, being reasonable fiscally, number 1. Number 2, that it would be aligned with our long-term demographic and enrollment projections. Number 3, that it would work in conjunction in consideration for the other town projects that are going on, not working in isolation. And the final one is that it would have a focus on 21st century learning environments. So, if we're looking at the town facilities, I think that speaks to the Board of Selectmen. If we're looking at the fiscal responsibility, that speaks to clearly the Board of Finance. And then the 21st century learning environment enrollment speaks to the Board of Ed. So each board kind of comes together with some skin in the game and their viewpoint and put it together, and we may come up with some great alternatives.
And I just want to just first thank Tom Bianish for sending Al and Jean to help with this. But this is kind of a way of doing things that hasn't been employed before. And to have all 3 boards with all different perspectives is a valuable thing, I think, and a way to move forward on a problem as large as this.
Communication is never a bad thing.
I did, but I wasn't sure where to interject. So I think we've sort of talked around it. I think, Kirk, you summarized it perfectly, but I think it's worth reading it into the record. This tri-board meeting that was set up and agreed to by Katie, Tom, and Jean Fitzgerald, I just want to read the sort of the charge, because I think it's important to make sure that everybody understands what it is. The Tri-Board Facilities Committee seeks to examine the Board of Education's 10-year facilities maintenance plan to investigate and or develop 3 to 4 alternative proposals and report back to the full Tri-Board by April 1st, 2019. So I just want to make sure that's clear, because I think we've never really formally said it out loud. So I'm saying it out loud.
And Kirk, I hear what you're saying. When I look at the June draft of the CIP and the October draft, I'm struck by the choices, right? So there was money for Holson, and that's one of the places where you chose to push off pending another plan. Brown, the spend went up a little bit. Jeffrey and Ryerson, those were zeroed out as well, and the TCLC. And so I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm reading into that either there's a desire to do something different with those buildings that makes it not worthwhile to improve them or maintain them according to your plan, or that there's, I'm reading into this that you're signaling to us that there's another direction that you're desiring to go, and I'm back to, how do we support you in that process.
The only alternative direction, Bruce, is that we're going to evaluate this plan as well as look at potential alternatives. And so if you look at the plan you have there in front of you, those dollars didn't go away. It's just that they have been moved back in time, giving us an opportunity to evaluate alternatives. But if we don't come up with any alternative that is acceptable to the community, then this would be the plan, and those expenditures would take place. They're just not going to take place in the 1920 budget year. They're going to be moved back to subsequent years. But in looking at the ability to do this, to have this flexibility, one of the things that we were very focused on was whether any of the deferred expenditures would result in either a safety or a security problem, and we feel comfortable that that is not the case. So we move them back in time until we get through this assessment or reassessment, which is due, as Scott pointed out, April 1st.
But I think it's fair to say, what you're saying, Kirk, that no options are off the table at this point, right? I mean, that's the point of this tri-board committee, is to look at any and all options.
Well, and we already have, as I'm sure you're all aware, because I know Chip has made various presentations, that we already have one proposal in front of us for evaluation. And to your point about communication, there is, as you all know, a newly formed communications committee. And part of our charge is to make sure, A, that the community is aware of our existence, what our mission is, and to invite any proposals or plans, hopefully reasonable ones, that they feel comfortable bringing to us. So our meetings are going to be posted, they're public. We're going to be writing pieces that hopefully will appear in the paper and through various social media outlets. I'm not technologically sophisticated enough to speak to those, but I understand they exist, and so we want to make what information is available to the public. And we want the public to feel free to give us their ideas and thoughts.
I can't tie like you can either, so.
Nobody can.
You haven't been working at it.
I think it bears repeating too, the things that have been delayed for the 6 months while this tri-board does the very important work, they're no less important. They're still there. They're still necessary, and they still weigh in on the facilities that exist right now. So they don't go away because they're not in this year. We're just giving ourselves some room to collaborate and work together to develop a solution that's more palatable for the community.
But we're not delaying them for 6 months. We're delaying them for 18 months, right? Because we'll use the rest of this fiscal year sorting that out, and then this time next year be having a discussion about the results of that. Yes?
So hold on, Bill. So it makes me think of our internal conversation about the windows at Academy. So legend has it that new windows were installed at Academy, I don't know, Bill, a couple years before the school closed. Okay. So we certainly want to learn from history and not repeat that. We can't modify the CIP calendar, with the annual budget calendar. So we have to go to 6 months, 18 months, whatever the calendar dictates. But if we had to create space for folks, we had to create space for them to do their work. And there was a pretty robust conversation, and Kirk and I were certainly on the same page with this one, about deadlines. We needed to have a deadline for this group. We can't say, well, then come back when you have an answer. No, come back April 1st. Because without a deadline, this could be kind of an ongoing problem. So, I'm sorry.
No, and your point is exactly what I was going to suggest, is the stuff that we moved out is, taking the leap of going down the road, then the alternatives, we've already committed to stuff that, that we wasted money on if we come up with another alternative. If you start sinking money into all these facilities, then we're going to have to decide whether we're going to do it or not. We have to make the decision. Can we wait 18 months? My guess is yes. But in 18 months, we've got to come up with a plan. And we should look at all the alternatives before we throw money into our facilities if we're going to do something different. It doesn't make sense to me to put the money into the facility before we make a decision and we're all on the same page.
And we have one plan right now. That's the one that went to the boards. It was modified, obviously, to create time. in space, but that is option one.
Yeah, and that option is to take care of the facilities that we have as is. You know, improve them to meet today's codes with, you know, ventilation and today's, this is 1960. We're sitting in a building that, you know, it's adequate, but I think a lot of people would say that this facility that we're sitting in right now is not something to a standard that we would like.
I have very fond memories of this.
A little sentimental.
As do you.
I replaced those lights.
But did you break them?
No.
But can you tie it all the time?
No, I can't tie it all the time.
Well, I think, you know, we talked about this in the tri-board meeting. It's difficult for us on the town side to make judgment calls about what you need from infrastructure, what you need for programming. Our role here is to be informed supporters. And so the spirit of these questions is to help me understand what this is. I understand that there was a really good plan put forward to do major work at Ryerson and Jeffrey. I personally still feel that was the best plan. I would support that plan again today if it were out there.
Bring it to the tri-board committee.
I just want to make sure that if this is the way we need to support you, then we're supporting you that way.
Thank you.
I'm not talking.
I have to, I mean, just a pause here, maybe to leave us on maybe a bit of a positive note, but I am beyond encouraged of what Tom, Katie, and Jean have put forward here with getting the three boards together and collaborating. So I'm excited. I think this is a new direction that, you know, hopefully will lead to some really great answers. So,
And we'll be reporting back
yeah,
on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Moving on. Number 18, discuss and take action to approve the budget workshop calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, what is it?
Right here. Go.
What's on the
Keep
back?
going.
Here we go. We got it right
We're all
here.
going to live together.
There we go.
Now, I'm pretty sure that all these dates and things have been run by you guys, so.
Yeah.
Am I right, Lauren?
Had to run by who?
Then, no?
Well, you should have received the draft on Friday.
Okay.
But just in general, we went back to the schedule and the types of meetings that you had 2 budget seasons ago. So last year we had a lot of combined meetings, and I think that kind of led to a little bit of kind of a time crunch for some of the meetings, because you had you and the Board of Finance in one meeting trying to listen to things and trying to get something accomplished in a shorter amount of time. So we went back to the model that we had as of 2 years ago, broke them back out into separate meetings with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance for the most part. And then we just went and adhered to, like, when you guys had your normal meetings and the Board of Finance has their regular meetings, tried to make things so that they were streamlined with the other town meetings that you have scheduled.
Can I make a suggestion here? Only because I had a full plate at the end of last week. Is there any chance we could table this topic and just put it on the next meeting and we can digest the dates? That would help me. Is that going to screw us up?
Stacy?
It's before the next Board of Finance. Yeah.
Just so I can have 2 weeks to sort
That
of.
would be fine. Yes, because both boards need to approve it.
That would be great.
So as long as we can approve it before.
Okay, so we're going to table that. We're not getting anything done tonight. Okay, number 19, tax abatements and refunds in the amount of...
90406.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Actually, I think it's 732.97.
So it says total amount, 90406.
Bottom line.
There's a prior year's balance.
Which one are we supposed to do?
It's 90406.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't add them all. Okay. All in favor? Citizens' comments. Oh, Gus, come on.
We're almost out of here.
That's the best comment I've ever heard, guys.
Liaison reports, selectmen comments. Anybody?
I'll go.
Here, just pass it down.
I will. So I attended the Planning and Zoning meeting last Thursday. There was no public hearing. There were a few minor items, and I guess the biggest one was a discussion regarding the property that they call the C district, which is sort of the Hammonasset district, where it's commercial, and they're talking about, and dollars were there. They didn't make a formal presentation, but and their attorney was there just talking about the fact that there's probably more need for multi-residential down there than there is any attraction for any sort of commercial. They're working closely with the EDC, so it was a discussion, and it's going to continue on, which I think several meetings. And the only other discussion item was in regard to some FEMA changes or regulations. And again, Al and I attended the liaison, the working group committee meeting. And I think we had a very lively discussion, and I think that a lot of ideas were thrown out. And
I heard some good things came out of that.
yeah, and Tom Scarice actually put together sort of summarized all of it, which it was basically discussed tonight as to where it's going. So I really do feel that there is a mission and there are goals, and there definitely are timelines. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Al?
The only thing I'm going to add is we're taking it very seriously, and we've set up a weekly meeting schedule. So we'll be getting to it. I'm going to quickly report on the Academy Guidance Committee that we created. They are still on target to start polling the public the week after Thanksgiving. The third draft of their proposed polling instrument has been circulated to you, and if you have any comments, get them to the chair of the committee, Henry Griggs.
Thanks, Al. I don't have anything.
The Scranton Library Building Committee met tonight. I was not in attendance because I was here. But my understanding is we're in the process of waiting on the bids to come in from the RFP. I think there were 10 plus bidders that were available in the process, and we're submitting bids. So we're encouraged and waiting on the responses at this point.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Hearing no more items on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn? So be it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.